Greetings. This is going to be a test reading of the first chapter of a novel I've been working on for quite a while. The working title, The Carriers, is exactly that. I'm not satisfied with the title. There are a lot of pieces of fiction out there that probably have the same title. Titles are what they are. Quite often they're repeated from one project to another author and on and on. But as for it being a test reading, it is that. The original intent was to have the video be the process of making illustrations for the piece of fiction that's being read out loud. So if I have an illustration for a story, I would read parts of the story as I show the video of the illustration being done. And this was evolved out of the original idea of using this process as a means of editing the story. Because, as you read a story, it's filtered through the eyes and into the brain, and you have this visualization of the story as you're reading it. And sometimes when you're writing, you're thinking in a different frame of mind than you would be if you're reading something out loud. So something that sounds really good in your mind as you're writing it down might not sound so good out loud. So the idea came about to use verbalizing the story out loud, reading it out loud, like an audiobook, but not. This is nowhere near as professional as an audiobook would be. To use the process of reading it out loud as a way of pinpointing something that doesn't sound right, or a word that's off, or a sentence that's not working so right. You put yourself kind of not in the process of creating the work, but you're expressing the work, which would help you to identify things that just don't make any sense. As for the title, it's kind of a strange thing, because the carriers, that's what they're called in the story. It has nothing to do with disease or maladies of any kind. There is nothing really much left of the world in this story to suffer maladies or disease. But it's an activity that they do. They carry something from point A to point B. They're like couriers. But the one malady that they might carry with them, potentially, is a concept, an idea that's been erased from all of human history in this story. So until I have decided otherwise, the title will be The Carriers. The first rule of burden. The rules of burden have no final number, no end count, as the burdens of man are infinite. The land stretched out from the south to the north, fractured by bands of ancient ash. A grand catastrophe had long since stained the stone, evidence of destruction in the shadows burned into the earth. Caricatures of souls etched in and eternal as caricatures of souls etched in and that doesn't make any sense. See what I mean by editing? Caricatures of souls etched in granite. And eternal. As if drawn by God's own hand. Sandstone and limestone were cleaved and shattered by both fire and concussion. Had the flames only been contained within a house or a forest, perhaps ambitious enough even to consume a whole city, Such destruction would merit only a footnote in history, making a good allegory about the foolhardy antics of kings and the masters of men. And we know how foolhardy the masters of men are. Being a fool is a prerequisite for men being masters over men. Perhaps this fire spanned an entire nation, the threadbare fury common among uprisings and revolutions. Not a house, a forest, or even a city or a nation. No, not even a continent. There was no limit to the fires of destruction. So complete and thorough was this destruction that it surpassed even the footnotes of history. So grave that it destroyed the past and the future. More than the nations of the world, the fires consumed history as if it were the flesh of man. The continent was worn and leveled by wind and sun. New rivers and lakes and oceans were formed where the old bodies of water were vaporized, their voids filled with ruin. Monoliths and mountaintops were crushed by the weight of time, weathered where there was weather, raindrops as rare as a square inch of earth not ruptured and altered by force and flame. The sky was clear, cloudless. The soft blue of early morning granted the barren earth a cool tone, shadows still stretching over where chasms and gullies crossed east and west. The sky, as well as the earth, was silent. A slight breeze welled up from the east with the sun, which rose with the habitual regularity of all celestial bodies. The sun intensified, a blanched disk washing the land free of any remaining shadows, reaching high noon where it was previously a soft orange bulb low in the sky. As the method of a civilization's rise defines the method of its collapse, by bloodshed or by atrophy, the demise of a civilization defines how the new civilization rises from those ashes. Roads gutted by warfare and flame fall into disrepair and become paths followed by wild animals. Foundations of smashed castles and towers become the outlines of future myths, while a new civilization struggles to fashion simple huts to keep out of the rain. The 102nd Rule of Burden. No master can exist without something to master, as no king can live without subjects to control.